That's exactly what I'm
Are you,
saying,
you
because
go
I
ahead.
think
You
it makes a mockery
okay?
of the women's game. If the focus on, okay,
Cool.
now we just have to have people because of marketing and their intention, and they're
Okay.
not as talented, and we're not putting the best team.
This came after Molly claimed on live television that Caitlyn had ridiculed women's sports. She claimed that Caitlyn was only being discussed due of her interactions with fans, downgrading the quality. In the meantime, the Mystics defeated the Fevers by a single point last night in the WNBA's most attended game ever. The Washington Mystics set a new WNBA attendance record by moving their game against Caitlin Clark to the neighboring NBA arena today. What Caitlin Clark has accomplished for the WNBA cannot be overstated. Just amazing. Take a look at that attendance. Caitlin Clark is now well known, filling stadiums and enthralling crowds nationwide. However, despite the evidence to the contrary, why do certain sports commentators, such as ESPN's Molly Qerim, assert that Clark's extraordinary abilities are devaluing the sport? Concerns about Caitlin Clark's influence on women's basketball are growing as she continues to post incredible numbers in every game. Is it true that she attracted admirers merely to be present? Or has she elevated the standard of play as well? What about the remarks made by other athletes, such as Angel Ree, who think they have increased the popularity of the sport? Is Clark's commitment and talent the actual reason the game has changed? In the past few years, in women's basketball, Caitlin Clark has become a trailblazing figure. Although she has received a lot of attention for her on-court efforts, this attention hasn't always been kind. ESPN pundits, especially Molly Qerim, have been vocal in their criticism of Clark during her ascent to fame. Instead of being a momentous occasion for women's sports, it has become a contentious discussion over Clark's impact on the sport and her part in determining its future. Although Clark's accomplishments and credentials speak for themselves, the media's response to her, especially from individuals like Qerim, has spurred discussions on sexism, jealousy, and the unfair treatment of female athletes. One of the most well-known ESPN commentators, Molly Qerim, caused a stir when she said that Caitlin Clark was mocking the sport. Basketball fans and sports commentators alike were immediately drawn to Qerim's hurtful and surprising remarks. But is this claim true, and what did Qerim truly mean by it? The answer to it is known to all. There isn't, of course.
She's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league, and she's a rookie. And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement. Targeted by society, targeted by her looks, targeted by her reputation, targeted by the disrespect that they've shown to the WNBA. There's a huge target on this kid's back. I thought Cameron Brink said something really smart. She said, no, they're expecting this rookie class to be perfect. This rookie class isn't even one of the best rookie classes in the last 10 years.
Qerim claimed that while Clark has clearly garnered large crowds and boosted viewership for women's basketball, she has not enhanced the general level of play in the sport. Qerim claims that Clark's basketball style is ostentatious but shallow, a spectacle that doesn't improve the game's quality but appeals to casual fans. In essence, Qerim implied that Clark is more of an entertainer than an athlete, someone who can make a lot of money but doesn't maintain the sport's purity. Qerim's criticism appears to center on the notion that Clark's approach is overly dependent on three-pointers and highlights actual plays, which some view as a departure from basketball's core principles. Qerim feels that Clark prioritizes high-scoring games over teamwork, defense, and strategy, aspects that she considers crucial to the game. Examining Caitlin Clark's real achievements is crucial. Rather than being merely a spectacle, Clark has continuously produced figures that demonstrate her status as one of the most dominant and well-rounded players in women's basketball history. As the youngest player in NBA history to record 3 triple-doubles in a single season, Clark has broken numerous milestones during her time as a student at the University of Iowa. But she's more than simply a scorer. Her ability to score is impressive. She frequently leads her team in assists and is a fantastic passer. Because of her extraordinary basketball IQ, she can anticipate moves and make passes that astound both opponents and spectators. The numbers disprove the assertion that Clark's game is only for amusement. In ways that are uncommon for players her age, she not only makes three-pointers but also develops plays, dismantles defenses, and manages the game's tempo. Not only does she have a strong offensive game, though, In addition, Clark is a fierce defender who frequently protects the top player on the other team and leads her team in steals. Qerim seems to be ignoring the fact that Clark is doing things on the court that have never been done before when she claims that Clark hasn't raised the standard of play in women's basketball. If anything, Clark is pushing the limits of what is feasible in the sport, making rivals reconsider their tactics and inspiring her colleagues to reach new heights. However, Qerim is not the only one who ignores Caitlin. Monica McNutt has also been acting in the same manner. She promised to award Angel Rookie of the Year if Chicago outperformed Indiana Fever, which they did not.
I have said this all season, BC. My Rookie of the Year is going to go based on the standings. Okay. Because I think that is how you have the opportunity to measure impact.
And the sky is right above them.
And the sky right now are in the playoffs, so you'd have to give the nod in my mind to Angel Reese.
Again, what I think is happening here is this black woman is trying to play mental gymnastics and find a way to put Angel Reese above Caitlin Clark. Rookie of the Year does not go to a team. That's why it's called Rookie of the Year. It goes to an individual player. So wouldn't it make sense that you would analyze their statistics and analyze individual play overall? Like, this woman is doing all types of mental gymnastics in order to come to this conclusion so she can try to place Angel Reese above Caitlin Clark in that race. When the Fever and the Future are ranked higher than the Sky, I'll be curious to see if she says the same thing. See if she then tries to maneuver to something.
Caitlin Clark's consistency is among her most impressive qualities. Clark consistently produces figures that would cause any opponent to reconsider their assessment. For instance, Clark averaged 27 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds per game during the 2021 to 2022 campaign. In any league, let alone college basketball, where the competition is fierce, they are MVP-caliber stats. Clark has consistently led her side to victory by scoring 30, 40, or even 50 points in games. And others seem to be forgetting the fact that Clark is a spectacle rather than a serious athlete when they attack him. Performances are more than just a spectacle. The success of her squad depends on them. Without Clark, Iowa wouldn't be in this position, and her impressive stats don't indicate that she is playing for herself. It demonstrates how valuable she is to the group. Clark's records are self-explanatory. She became the first player in Big Ten history to score 1,000 points and dish out 200 assists in a single season and was unanimously selected to the first-team All-American. She has also surpassed almost all of her age group's score records. Most significantly, though, Clark has accomplished all of this while maintaining an exceptionally high level of efficiency, shooting about 40% from three-point range and over 45% from the field. Another player has entered the discussion, although Caitlin Clark has stayed mostly out of the mix. Angel Reese, an LSU player, has frequently asserted that she is the reason women's basketball has become so popular and that Clark has been unfairly singled out by the media while her own achievements to the sport have gone unnoticed. Reese believes that Clark has been depicted as the hero and she as the antagonist.
I don't understand, if they think it's personal, but when I get between the lines, if friends or anything, if my teammate right here went to play for another team, I'm going to be competitive, I'm going to talk trash to her just because I'm super competitive and that's what we do. But off the court, we're going to kick it and have fun. So I think that's a part of the game and just trying to normalize, trash talking is okay, but not taking it personal off the court. And obviously that has become a thing and people are just trying to make it seem like it's something, but I love Caitlin, I love her game, and I admire everything that she's done.
Is this story true, though? Or is Reese merely attempting to maintain her prominence by portraying Clark as her competitor? Reese's attempts to portray herself as the antagonist are seen by many fans and commentators as little more than a publicity stunt. Although Reese is clearly a gifted player in her own right, Clark's achievements are far greater than Reese. Reese's assertion that she is in charge of the expansion of sports appears to be more self-serving than factual. However, it's important to remember that Caitlin Clark has never publicly quarreled with Reese or any other participants. In interviews, Clark has consistently shown respect and never criticized other gamers or trying to stir things up. Nevertheless, certain members of the media continue to paint Clark in an unfavorable manner despite her professionalism. Reese, on the other hand, frequently gets away with openly courting controversy. Fans of Clark find this dynamic frustrating because they believe she is being unfairly singled out due to her success. Even when there isn't a defect in her game or character, it seems like the media is desperate to find one. Furthermore, It's obvious that Caitlin Clark has no desire in partaking in such theatrics, even though Rhee might like being the antagonist. Winning basketball games is the only thing on her mind.
We're watching women's basketball right now. It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And understanding, like, yeah, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize.
The way the media has portrayed Caitlin Clark is among the most perplexing aspects of the debate. Despite her remarkable success on the court, Clark is sometimes depicted negatively by pundits like Molly Qerim, who doubt her skills and imply that she is more of a circus than a real player. However, why is this the case? Why is Caitlin Clark, a player who has only achieved success at the top levels of the sport, frequently criticized? The media's propensity to discredit people who achieve success too quickly may contribute to the solution. It appears that some members of the media are uneasy about Clark's rapid ascent, with the notion of a young player doing so much so quickly. Additionally, there is the problem of jealousy, especially among former WNBA players who could believe that Clark's success lessens their own achievements. Women's basketball in general and the WNBA in particular have long struggled to attract widespread interest. Additionally, several old players appear to be upset that it took a rookie to do what they were unable to, even though Clark has attracted new followers to the game. The double standard that is applied to female athletes, however, may be the most concerning aspect of how the media has treated Caitlin Clark. Players that excel at an early age are praised rather than chastised in men's sports. LeBron James was heralded as the NBA's future when he joined as a teenager and started shattering records right away. However, Caitlin Clark is accused of mocking women's basketball when she does the same thing.
Olympic break helped the Indiana Fever more than any other team. And I felt like the Olympic break really hurt Chicago. Because I thought before the break, Indiana was playing well, Chicago was playing well, and granted, there have been injuries and things like that. But since the Olympic break, this Indiana Fever team, to me, is a completely different.
In addition to being unfair, this double standard is detrimental. It conveys the idea that female athletes will always face harsher criticism than their male colleagues, regardless of how skilled they are. Additionally, it deters young girls from participating in athletics since they are aware that they will still have to fight for respect even if they succeed. The jealousy that appears to be emanating from former WNBA players is another important aspect of the Caitlin Clark story. The WNBA has long struggled to receive the same kind of widespread recognition as men's athletics. Although former players have put up a lot of effort to promote the game and boost viewership, the broader sports community. Now, Caitlin Clark has done what they couldn't. She's brought new fans to the game, filled stadiums, and drawn record-breaking TV ratings. But instead of celebrating her success, many ex-WNBA players seem to resent it. They see Clark's rise as a threat to their own legacies, and they're unwilling to give her the credit she deserves. This jealousy is particularly evident in the way some ex-players have talked about Clark in the media. Rather than acknowledging her talent and her contributions to the sport, they've tried to downplay her achievements, suggesting that she's only successful because of the media attention she's received. They contend that Clark is more of a marketing tool than a genuine athlete and that she hasn't really earned her moment in the spotlight. However, when you consider the facts, this argument falls apart. All of Caitlin Clark's accomplishment is well-deserved. She has accomplished this via talent, perseverance, and hard work. In addition to being foolish, jealousy of former WNBA players is detrimental to the sport. They ought to be encouraging the next generation of stars rather than destroying them. Realizing that Clark's accomplishments represent a victory for women's basketball in general.
Will Caitlin Clark be a good pro? Absolutely. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now? Immediately? Absolutely not. Not gonna happen.
Okay.
There are multiple players involved in Caitlin Clark's ascent to fame. It concerns women's basketball's future. Clark has demonstrated that women's sports have a sizable fan base. Additionally, she has attracted new fans who might not have previously watched a women's basketball game. She has demonstrated that women's basketball can be just as thrilling and competitive as men's sports, packed stadiums, and shattered viewing records. The WNBA has been requesting precisely this. The league has been working to increase awareness of the game for years. And now that someone has at last succeeded, the reaction ought to be one of joy rather than condemnation. More has been done by Caitlin Clark for women's basketball has grown more in a few short years than most players do over the course of their careers. In a way that few could have imagined, she has elevated the sport. She has also demonstrated the potential of women's basketball to be a powerful force in the sports industry. Nevertheless, Clark is still subjected to unwarranted criticism from former WNBA players and analysts like Molly Qerim. However, Clark's admirers are still sure that her skill and commitment will speak for itself and that her legacy won't be diminished by jealousy or media attention.
Clark is all about winning. I don't know if y'all know that. I don't know if y'all been paying attention. So I know why Cheryl Swoops is mad. I know why you mad, Cheryl. Because you see Caitlin making the money that you wish you would have made when you was a player. And you kind of bitter. You kind of salty. It's a jealous spirit. The moral of the story is this. Every OG is not an OG. Some OGs just old and grumpy.
Caitlin Clark has had an incredible career in women's basketball. She has broken records, attracted admirers, and established herself as one of the greatest athletes of her generation. However, despite her achievements, she is still subject to criticism from pundits and former players who seem intent on undermining her achievements. However, Clark's performances, records, and unquestionable skills speak for themselves. What she has achieved cannot be diminished by jealousy or media attention. And as she repeatedly disproves her detractors, her legacy will only deepen. Ultimately, Caitlin Clark is not mocking the sport. She is altering it for the better. And because of her, women's basketball has a far brighter future. One thing is evident as Caitlin Clark continues to garner attention. Her impact on basketball is indisputable. Her records speak for themselves, even though some ESPN analysts and former players have criticized her. It's time to honor her contributions to women's basketball and anticipate how she will continue to influence the sport going forward. We are truly in for a treat because the playoffs are on Sunday. Please like and subscribe if you liked.